Welcome to your Conscious Choices for Wellness podcast, hosted by B. Crutelli. This is a space for everyone to learn anything and everything related to healthy healing, including naturopathic medicine, music, dance, yoga, meditation, eco-fashion, mothering, and organic lifestyle choices. Topics for expanding universal consciousness. Come join me weekly as we delve in and begin this journey, sharing valuable content gathered over the past 3 decades, helping to support a healthier and more sustainable future for all. Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Choices for Wellness podcast. Here I am, your host, B. Crutelli. Like I said, every other week, I'm going to be doing an in-person episode, hopefully, if all goes well. Just got to go with the flow. But I was just getting ready to record my last recording in person. I let you know that I'm settled into my new place now. I finally found a home for now. And I do have a neighbor. She just returned. I was going to start recording a little sooner. And this morning is just like, I don't know, sometimes it just seems like time is just going quicker. And you're like, why does it seem like it's just going so quick right now? Anyways, try not to get segued too much because I was going to keep my episode short. And of course, I wrote quite a lot. So I will be talking about the psychedelic renaissance that's happening, although that is a really big topic. So I am going into just a few areas and trying to keep it brief, but I will continue this discussion as it is something that is passion of mine. So understanding where we want to go. That was a subtitle I put, but now I'm like, what does that mean exactly? That might mean something different for anybody. So today is a story of where I went last weekend, not just a few days ago or this last weekend, but the weekend before. Because when I started writing this, it was like the week after I had returned from an experience of many, actually, and one that I will tell a little story about that I didn't write about, which I always like to do anyway, that happened on my journey back from day 2 from this conference I went to, and learning more of what is happening currently in the world of psychedelics and beyond. And the conference was called Spirituality and Beyond, but really it was about psychedelics and how that interacts and is interwoven with spirituality. My interest in psychedelics beyond cannabis went to sleep for the most part while I was raising my kids for the last 30 years. And it was vastly reawakened over the past several years. There was only one bad trip experience that I've ever had, and these are on natural substances that I speak from. Now, this podcast is going into other substances that a few I have not yet experienced. Though that experience that I had was around age 18 due to the wrong mindset going in on shrooms while camping with some friends. All other experiences with either LSD, shrooms, DMT, etc., of the more natural substances have brought me great peace, joy, insight, and growth. DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, is not in its natural form unless it's consumed within the vine plant known as ayahuasca. And ayahuasca is 2 different plants that are put together to make the medicine. And I think just one of them actually contains DMT. So that's the primary psychoactive component in ayahuasca. And in In case you don't know what ayahuasca is, many of you have heard of it or maybe have done it. It's very widely used now, almost too much. And it's a traditional Amazonian brew that the DMT is a serotonergic hallucinogenic. Okay. And it is widely researched. It's a widely researched drug of the tryptamine family. And the tryptamine family has to do with being an amino acid that the body understands, and it works with our hormonal system and our neurological system and our emotional system. And it's, an amino acid, like many amino acids do many different things in the body. So it's in that family of the tryptamines. It's structurally similar to psilocybin or magic mushrooms and is known to produce short-acting and intense visual hallucinations. I have also taken DMT by itself, which, it's been extracted like from a plant into a medicine. Now you can get it as an extraction, and it is something that people are taking to get a really strong hallucinogenic effect, maybe get, direct contact with the outer world and understand maybe something that you're asking a question about. It's very intentional. It's something you should really, do, I think, alone and with spirit, and be very intentional about why you're doing it. It's a very quick acting and very short-lived experience. I've never feared was natural from the earth, unadulterated by a lab. These days, lab-made psychoactive drugs are being casually classified by some into the same group as natural substances. Honestly, this alarms me, but doesn't surprise me one bit. Drugs are drugs, and most concerning and important part is that they are safe enough to consume as medicine. Okay? Many drugs, I say drugs are drugs because drugs are man-made, they're synthesized in a lab, they're not in its natural form anymore, in its whole form of, wherever they came from, which is a lot of times plants. So then they are going to cause side effects, and sometimes that can be very severe. So I have many reasons for steering away from them, and plant medicine will always be plant medicine, truly unadulterated by man, only made into an extract by adding hot water or another solvent like alcohol to extract its medicine. And this is what keeps the substance safe, never harming with continual use, if respected and not overused. Okay, so medicine from plants or medicine from a drug, in my opinion, should never be overused or abused. It should be respected as medicine. Why shamans and some spiritual teachers use as sacred medicine daily for insight and balance, respect, right? They know what they're doing. They respect the medicine. Going into the levels of herbs, there are 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 1 is the most mild, like if you think of like peppermint tea or chamomile tea, okay, those would be classified as like an herbal, like a classification of a 1. And 4 being deadly. Very few plants and fungi are, but there are some out there, and so always know before consumption, just in case. At this Spirituality and Beyond conference in Oakland, California, there were many diverse panels of speakers and a few musicians, which of course made it even better. Everyone was amazingly passionate about their craft or sacred offering to the world. Topics ranging from sustainability of entheogenic harvesting, like ayahuasca and peyote. There's, just devastating effects that are happening out there now because there's overuse, overconsumption, not respect for the medicine. And so that's become an issue, to fentanyl test strips for Burning Man. So, there was a wide range of different topics that were discussed. I think I missed a couple of them. Today, the psychedelic world has expanded into other lab made substances known as dissociatives. The most popular one being ketamine, which many of you have heard about. Ketamine's been around for a long time, but now it's, a street drug, and now it's like used very, very widely. Discovered in the early 60s as a well-known veterinarian tranquilizer, and was a valued anesthetic used in Vietnam. That's when it first was used as an anesthetic, and it's been used in hospitals ever since. Then in the early 2000s, researchers began noticing something fascinating about it. Patients who had received ketamine for surgery were reporting rapid and dramatic improvements in their mood. People who had struggled with depression for years suddenly felt lighter, more hopeful, in some cases becoming completely free of symptoms. So, that's a good medicine, right? I'm sure there's got to be some side effects of it, though. It is a drug. Not getting into all of that, but today ketamine use is on the rise in clinical mental health settings for treatment of anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So I know many other more natural substances that are also used for this, so I would advocate for that more, like cannabis and psilocybin. So hopefully shifting more into the safer realm to avoid overdose and have safe access. That's good news, right? So unfortunately, many won't be able to afford the expense of these treatments, though. So since it's a drug, it will be street driven. There will still be, illegal access to it. And these drugs are largely man-made laboratory substances that have the risk of containing fentanyl if bought on the street. Dissociatives create the feeling of being out of body, definitely a way to see self differently and even the world as being an illusionary experience, creating an infinite perspective of what life essentially is, right? Like you've heard, like, this is all an illusion. Like we've been taught and conditioned, and we're like doing what we're supposed to think we're supposed to be doing, but are we really supposed to be doing what we're doing? It's like, is it all just, just a funny joke? But from what I gather, they differ, though, in not giving the psychedelic hallucination experience as much that traditional psychedelics do. There is a different molecular action happening here. So DMT kind of gives you that as well, which I think I get into here, but it's like it kind of gives you this out of body experience. But there's also very deep psychedelic experience. And I remember that when I took ayahuasca. That could be from the DMT, because the DMT extract that I took was also very much like that. It was just very short-lived and not this long drawn out, not as, I'm not going to get into all that right now. But I did want to mention that Reggie Watts, musician, comedian, and psychonaut, wrapped up the conference on Sunday discussing how he came to be his authentic self through the early use of dissociatives from his mid-teen years in Montana until the now. So when I'm saying dissociatives, it's not just ketamine. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not advocating that. I actually haven't even experimented with that. Like I said, DMT is probably the closest thing that I've gotten to, although psilocybin, I believe, even LSD, that's probably why they're like intertwined kind of in a similar category with psychedelics, is because psychedelics, traditional ones like mushrooms and LSD also kind of give you that feeling, but I don't think it's as like intense as these other dissociative drugs. Reggie, yeah, he was there, and that was one of the reasons that kind of drew me in, especially on the second day. I wanted to see him in person. I was right up front. I was in the third row. It was very nice to be like that close to him because he's somebody I just kind of learned about uh, this winter on a podcast, and then looked him up and like watched his comedy special on Netflix. And I really love his music too. He's just very different, you know, he's just got his own unique style. So he was there, and when he was asked what his favorite drug of choice, he stated, after cannabis, thank you, Reggie, for mentioning cannabis first, that it was ketamine, which I kind of thought that's what he was going to say. So hopefully, I mean, I hope he's my age, by the way. And, you know, he talked a little bit about growing up in the 80s, and, you know, I could just very much relate. We're the same age. And I just hope that he stays safe, you know, out there, because he's very much an exploratory psychonaut that's really delving into some heavy, different, like every single dissociative he has access to and can experiment with. And his partner that he cared very much about, I didn't even know at the time. I just found out actually as I was writing this that she passed away in Lima, Peru. Actually, she left by choice, it sounds like, took her life. And she was 15 years younger than him. But he was very connected with her and loved her very much. And they had been dating for a few years, and it's very sad. So he was just dealing with that. This conference just happened like a week maybe after she passed. And I felt like he was very emotional on stage. He cried a few times, which I thought was kind of interesting, but also very, you know, heart touching. I love it when people can just be authentic, and, you know, if they need to cry, be emotional, be themselves, whatever is touching them. But I'm sure some of that was because he was, you know, grieving a loved one that had just passed the week before. And I did not know that at the conference. So that was interesting to just find that out. We're all going to leave this world, right? That we're in here, and we're going to go to where we came from. We're going to go back. You know, we're just here having this human experience. So anyways, I have yet to try this substance. Speaking of ketamine, clearly have been avoiding it for the past 7 years since I first heard about it, or first really talked about it with a friend of mine, somebody I was dating at the time. I heard some unfavorable things about it and some trips that people were having, and one that led to a death in the snow up in Lake Tahoe here. And that just kind of like, I was like, oh, yeah, you know, it's just a drug, you know, like I don't want to experience it. Just felt like it was a little bit more risky. And since I've been hearing, you know, just the rampant use and more people using it, I feel that drugs like this and others that are now being used widely by psychotherapists in clinical settings are meant for healing deep traumas and should be used in such a way under professional, experienced guidance, especially to ensure the safety of what you are consuming. Over the past year, there has been a decline in fentanyl-related deaths. Good news, yes. There's still, I kind of did the math really quick, just in the last year, there's been almost 150 per day. And I believe that was just in the US. So there's still quite a lot. But that could be combined with other synthetic drugs, opioid related. But most of those I think it was like 60% still are they're finding contain fentanyl. So that's why if you can get your hands on fentanyl test strips, but for some reason the government is outlawing them in many states, very important to test if you're going to experiment or take any kind of drug that could have fentanyl in it. So the market is finally saturated, though, with fentanyl, and many have become more wary of what's inside their drug of choice. As you may have heard from one who has had a near death experience, right? Some of us know people who have died from an accident and they were able to be brought back. One that leaves their physical body and then comes back. They may be a little bit altered, they may see things a little differently, but maybe in a better way than before, right? They might be more open-minded. They're just kind of changed. So I think that's why people like the dissociatives, because you're actually like having this out of body experience, and it just kind of changes your perspective. And you don't, like, I know for Reggie Watts, like he doesn't see things the way other people see it. And I think that's why people are like drawn to him and like his perspective on life. He's not taking this experience here like so seriously and like grinding and stressing and like, you know, I mean, he's a comedian and he's a musician and he's like doing what he loves, but he's definitely not stressing out over the endless conditioning of our culture. So I will always stand firm in going natural, always the safest route, always the purest, and always plenty of options to do such. I always add some nice photos on the blog, which I will link in the show notes. Psychedelic plant and fungi medicine always can have a slight to medium dissociative effect if you want kind of that, right? To kind of change your perspective, kind of see things a little differently, hence bringing into the realm of the drug types, just meaning that they're kind of like intertwining it, you know, like at this conference, it was kind of like, it was intertwined. You could tell that like cannabis advocates and mushroom and LSD advocates were, you know, kind of intertwined together with the people that are taking the more like drug type dissociatives, as well as the medicine for higher ground, creating a positive mental health outlook if taken with an experienced practitioner. Okay, so going back to ayahuasca, containing DMT, primarily classified as a potent, fast-acting psychedelic hallucinogen, or in that tryptamine group, rather than a traditional dissociative like ketamine. But it commonly produces intense dissociative effects. It acts as a serotonin receptor agonist, causing rapid, vivid hallucinations and profound detachment from reality and the physical body. Okay, so I have my own ayahuasca experiences, and yeah, it's like, you know, your body is there, right? And you can almost, I mean, my experience was like, you know, you can touch and you can be with your body. I never had to like get up when I had done it twice, and necessarily like walk around. I think you would maybe need like someone assisting you. Maybe I did once have to go to the bathroom, but that might have been like towards the end of it, you know, when I was kind of not feeling it as much as the peak moments. There's definitely like purging going on, and you know, that's to really like get out like your the things that's blocking, you know, like your demons, and you know, like really like purging things out so you can feel the medicine more. So that was many, many years ago, and I definitely felt like I was like out of body, but I sensed my physical body nearby. And all I can say is it was a very profound, special experience that I don't want to do a lot, but I will never forget. I felt very connected with the plant, like she was like my grandmother and my teacher and my spirit guide, and I could ask her questions and get answers. And so it really kind of helped me in that time of my life, to know what to do next and to feel more comfortable with whatever I was dealing with. Um, Set and setting, I think, is very important with any of these kind of substances. As a mother on a mission to spread more healthy, healing vibes and love, I pray that everyone stays safe and guided respectfully on their beloved journeys here. Okay. Love you all. And let's just do that. Okay. And let's work together and just, I know there's lots of intense things happening out there, but there's lots of people that are changing for the better. And we just need to collaborate more, support each other more, do more good things that are helping the planet. Just keep doing it, spreading the love. It's all about the love and the positive vibes. It's always been about that, right? So, on a side note, I want to share my latest music review, remembering Flea from the infamous, amazing Red Hot Chili Peppers. Remember them from the 90s? They may have started in the late 80s, but definitely were huge in the 90s. So a friend of mine shared this with me this last week, and Flea, has dropped this creation recently. I think it was in September, October last year. I looked it up and I missed it, but now I'm following him because he was always really cool, and he's doing some amazing work, it looks like, out there. So the video adds so much artistic expression. You have to watch the video version. I'm going to link it in the show notes, or you can look at the blog, and there's a link at the end. You can just click on it. It's called Build a Bridge is Where the Courage Is, and it's called A Plea. Okay, so it's a song that he did, but then he made a video, and you got to watch the video. So it's all about peace and love, spreading more awareness, and he is doing in such a creative way that so much love and respect to him, that man. Yes. Peace and love to all of you. Thank you for being here today, and I'll see you in a few weeks, or you'll hear me in a few weeks if you listen. And please love, comment, subscribe, all those things. All right. Take care. Thank you all so very much for listening today. I genuinely hope that you learned something, and I invite you to join me each week so you never miss a conscious wellness beat. This podcast holds a special place in my heart dedicated to my evolution here, my passionate mission to spread more consciousness for the much needed wellness on Earth. Come join me as a guest as well. Let's collaborate, making change for future generations.